Alrighty, so we've installed Python and Visual Studio Code if you're following along with me anyway with VS Code, and we've run some of the most basic commands that Python has to offer. What's next? Well, we are going to make the last step in what's called setting up our local environment. Your local environment is sort of the bubble where you program, you code, you work on stuff, and this is everything you control, okay? And we've been running our Python in memory. So we did it in the terminal down below, and we did it on a website. The last step here is going to be to move to where we run it from files. For obvious reasons, we want to be able to save it. We want them to get really long. We want to be able to edit easily with the value of VS Code. Eventually, we will talk about Git, so we'll want to be able to use Git and so on, okay? So I have VS Code open here, and I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to Open Folder. And you need we'll call it a workspace. You need a folder where you keep the stuff for this class. And my folder is called Python Blitz Code. If you know Git, the GitHub class repository is this folder. So I want you to open up that folder. VS Code may ask you if you trust the files in this folder. Right now, there are none. The answer is yes, I trust the author because that is going to be me or us. You can close down this welcome. Over here on the left-hand side, I'm not going to give you a real extensive tour because we want to focus on Python, but underneath this one, which is the name of the folder, let me drag this out a little bit here. It shows Python Blitz Code. That's the folder that I opened. We've got a couple icons here. This will allow you to create a new file. This will allow you to create a new folder. This will refresh it. It usually does a really good job of staying on top of things. And then this will collapse all of the folders that happen to be open. So I'm going to shrink this back down. And I am going to open up, or I'm going to create a new folder, and we're going to call it the basics. And inside the basics, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it test.py. Okay? The .py is obviously the first two letters in Python. Technically, depending on your version of Python, you can probably name it anything you want, and as long as you give it valid Python, the Python program will run it. But this is how we designate it. Visual Studio Code will see the PY and will automatically pop up what's called a linter, which means it will help you find mistakes in your code. And I'll point that out a little bit later, okay? But it's important that you name these .py. Going forward, it's very possible, probably even likely, that you will start to see .pyc files or something like that. That is Python creating a cached, so that's what the C stands for, version of your file. So it doesn't have to do everything every time if not that much has changed. Okay, the stuff that we're working on will be the .py files. Okay, so in here, let's do print. We'll do our parentheses, and you'll notice that Visual Studio Code is going to help you by, in my case, it closed the parenthesis for me. So I just hit open, it automatically creates the closing one. Okay, we'll put in quotations, hello. This time I will do students. I will save it. Right below that, let's do print, and I'll do 3 plus 5, and I will save it. Okay, I'm going to go up to the terminal, open up a new terminal window, and when you open it up, it will go to the folder that you are currently in. Okay, now remember, we have our class folder, which is called Python Blitz Code, or at least mine is. We are inside of the basics. So you can run Python 3, if you're on a Mac, it's probably just Python on a PC, but I'm on my Mac, so I'm going to do Python 3, go down into the folder, the basics, and then we're going to run test.py. Okay, so this is what your command will look like. Again, if you're on Windows, get rid of the 3. All right, and I am going to hit enter. We told Python to go to this file and run it. Run whatever you find in there. So instead of typing it like we have been, it found these two lines and it ran them. Okay? This is a good stopping place. You need to make sure that you are getting this, and if you are, or you're getting whatever you told it to print, you are good to go pretty much for the rest of the course. If you're getting an error, like Python is not found, there are a couple things you can do. You can type which Python 3, and you're looking for where's the Python program loaded at. We've kind of already gone through this, but make sure that you've chased that down. If you're getting test.py is not found, make sure that the folder that you are in here relates to the folder up here. And using Visual Studio Code, if you hover over top of this, it will show you the entire path. So I've got Python Blitz Code, the basics, and then test.py. That'll be really helpful in getting you there. If I type ls on a Mac, it will show me all of the files inside of this particular folder. On newer versions of Windows, the ls command should work just fine. If you're on a really old Windows machine, you can probably type dir and it will show you what's in that current file. You can go cd and then go down into the basics, and that will put you in the same folder. And then again, if I type ls, it will show me the files that I have available. Okay, so now I'm in the folder called the basics. So now if I type Python 3, I can just go straight to test.py instead of having to put the whole directory name, okay? So troubleshoot everything. If you've got questions, of course, ask them, but we wanna make sure that you are able to run your code, you get the output here, and then you are pretty much all set. If you need to uninstall Python or uninstall VS Code and reinstall them, please do that, but get there, and I will see you in the next video.